Now, obviously, the number one story in all of like entertainment over the past, couple of like almost a year now has been the impending and upcoming purchase of Paramount of Warner Brothers. And it's been going through a lot of different stages. There's been a lot of drama, and Netflix was involved and all that kind of stuff. Well, you guys remember that a little while ago, we announced that a coalition of a number of states' attorney generals, starting with California and New York, and now a whole bunch of others, said that they were looking at getting together and launching a lawsuit to stop the merger, which they can do as state attorney generals. Well, now reports coming out of Reuters are saying that the U.S. states could sue next week. It sounds like they're close enough now that they're saying they may launch this lawsuit next week. Now, this comes on the heels of the Oregon Attorney General, who says they are seeking a separate legal action to put in an injunction to stop the merger from going through temporarily because they're investigating corruption in the Department of Justice approving the merger. Because as they say, as it goes on in the story, it talks about the Attorney General for Oregon says, listen, when the Attorney General does a pure investigation based on the facts and the law, we have no problem with that. But they are they're putting out subpoenas for all the communication that happened between all the Paramount people and the government. Because what Oregon is saying is that the Department of Justice didn't greenlight the purchase of Warner Brothers by Paramount based on a proper investigation. They based it on favors being done between the government, particularly the White House, and the head players involved. A little bit of tit for tat, if you will, which is illegal. So they're doing that on top of the fact that the states are now getting together, and it sounds like it looks like next week they're going to launch this lawsuit. Now, why this becomes really important is because October is an incredibly important date. If this merger is not completed by October, then Paramount has to pay a penalty to the shareholders of Warner Brothers to the tune of $650 million. Just if the deal's not closed yet. So if the deal's not closed by then, Paramount's got to pay an additional over $500 million, in which they're already going to be over $80 billion in debt as a result of this. And then another $650 million penalty gets tagged onto that every 3 months. If 3 more months pass and they don't get it closed, another $650 million, and so on and so forth. The way I think this is going to shake out, guys, I think the way this is going to shake down is that I do think the deal's going to go through, and I think they're going to launch the lawsuit. And here's what I think is going to happen. We see in the UK and in Europe right now that that Paramount is giving up some of the assets they are going to acquire from Warner Brothers in order to appease the European governments. Like, okay, we were supposed to get this, and this, but we'll give those up. And that's supposed to appease the European governments. Whether it does or doesn't, we'll find out. It'll probably work. What I think is going to happen here, and this is just a guess, but I think the states are going to launch this lawsuit, and then I think Paramount is going to go to them and say, okay, what do we need to do to make you feel satisfied in order for us to complete this merger? And I think that's going to include them giving up CNN, because I think that's going to be one of the big things that the attorney generals are going to be worried about, is the monopolization of the news media. So I think it's going to be Paramount will be being able to offer up CNN and say, okay, we'll divest ourselves of CNN, and maybe even HBO Max.
Wow.
Maybe even HBO Max. So they buy Warner Brothers and then immediately sell off HBO Max and CNN. And then I think the merger goes through okay. Or maybe both those things, maybe one of those things, maybe something else. But that's what I ultimately see happening here, is that the lawsuit will get launched. They're going to see that they're under threat of losing that $650 million, and then they will go to the to the attorney generals and make an offer. And I think if it's good enough, the attorney generals will go, okay, that satisfies us, and then they'll end it, and then they can go through and complete the merger. That's how I see it playing out at any rate. I could be wrong. Rob, this is something we've been covering now for a long time. They're saying this lawsuit this is the one everybody's been waiting for, is this particular lawsuit. It looks like it's going to get launched next week. How do you see this shaking out? What do you think the result of this is going to be?
Well, there's a lot. I mean, this is a very pricey, there's a lot of money at stake here all the way around. So, I mean, you know, if states are getting involved there, and it's just going to be more and more expensive. And like you, John, I think ultimately it probably will go through, but I don't envy the fight that Paramount is going and Skydance is going to have to put up to make this merger happen. And you know, there's a lot of there's not a lot of sentiment, public sentiment or industry sentiment that wants to see this merger happen. You know, there's a lot of people that would, I think both you and I ultimately, if we had our druthers, we wouldn't want it to happen. We just kind of think it's an inevitability that it will.
Yeah.
But I think that there's a lot of people that don't want it to happen, and I think for good reason. You know, for the industry, I don't necessarily think it's a good thing, and I also don't think that Paramount is on. If these guys were making gold all year and they were on a great footing, I would say, oh, okay, maybe this could work out. But they're not. This is a merger that is barely going to get off the ground at best, and who knows how long it's going to take. I mean, they're like, we're going to make 15 movies at Warner Brothers and 15 movies at Paramount. Well, really? Are you? You already have a massive debt load that you're incurring. What are you going to do to pay for those movies? Are you going to make $200 million tentpole properties? How many of those can you muster? So I think they're in a precarious position. So I don't think it's going to be easy. If it goes through and they make it happen, it's going to be a fight, and it's going to get ugly.
Nadia, I'm sure you've been following this story too. Like, what do you think is going to happen here? Do you think the merger goes through? Do you think it gets blocked? Do you think they'll make some concessions? I don't know. What do you see happening?
I think we're just in a really scary place right now on so many levels, but especially in terms of media, film, with strikes, with AI, with literally everything happening right now. And then them kind of monopolizing this is getting kind of scary, because what made movies so great was having so many different studios and so many different point of views. And now when everything gets like streamlined and just into like a couple, it kind of like makes less chances for more opportunity. And it's scary because we were talking about the lesser of two evils before, when Netflix was also throwing their hand in this. So it's kind of sad that like we didn't really want Netflix, but that was like the better choice. And the irony of WB having such a great year, like Sinners and Weapons, and like they had so many incredible movies, and it's kind of sad to see that like even if they had a good year, that they have to settle for something like this. And we're only going to deal with like more trouble with like job losses and monopolies, conflicts of interest, no competition. I even read that like theater owners are going to struggle because now they're going to have to deal with like 30 movies a year. So it's kind of like so many factors go into this, and so many jobs and industries are going to be affected by it. And then on the other side, you have like the whole political connection, which is frightening, because now they're going to own, if they keep CNN or if they keep HBO Max and have their hands tied to every single thing, it's just, it's scary. We're really hitting like monopoly days, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I had Sean Chandler on the show yesterday, which is great having Sean here. And one of the things I said to Sean was, the reason I again, all the things being equal, I just want Warner Brothers to be Warner Brothers. That's it. But the reason I kind of preferred the Netflix deal over the Paramount deal is because with Paramount, you have two big theatrical studios, and now you're just going to have one. If Netflix bought Warner Brothers, you are bringing a new player into the theatrical business, because Netflix is not in the theatrical business, and it would be bringing them in. So again, I would prefer Warner Brothers just staying Warner Brothers, but yeah, lesser of two evils kind of thing. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think is going to happen here? It looks like, according to these reports, that the attorney generals of the various states are going to launch their lawsuit next week. Do you think it actually goes all the way through? Do you think that, Paramount will come in and make some concessions that'll satisfy the attorney generals? I don't know. Whatever way you see this working out, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts.